PowerPoint එක දාලා තියෙන්නේ. හරි. අරගොල්ලන්ට තියෙනවා. අපි එහෙමනම් ලින්ක් කරලා ඕපන් මේවා කරලාම තියමු නේ. එතකොට සේෆ් නේ. ටෙස්ටිං 1 ටෙස්ටිං 1 ටෙස්ටිං 1
said, investing in yourself is the best thing you can ever do. If you have got talent yourself and you have maximized your talent, you have got a tremendous asset that can return tenfold. On that note, we warmly welcome you all to the Investment Week 2021-22.
To greet you all, our very own students of the Department of Finance will now perform the Puja dance.
Recording in progress.
Thank you for that graceful performance. Today, we are gathered here because we made the incredible decision to invest in the essence of knowledge. Knowledge is an asset that can return tenfold a treasure that can benefit a society as a whole.
A very good morning to all of you. Distinguished guests, Mr. Senaka Kakrivaragudage, Chief Executive Officer of NDB Capital Holdings, Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, Professor Ruwan Abesekara, Head, Department of Finance, Professor D.K.Y. Abeyawardena, Head, Department of Accountancy, Professor Abhi Disanayaka, Head, Department of Marketing Management, Dr. M.P.N. Janadari, Head, Department of Human Resource Management, Dr. M.M.M. Shamil, Head, Department of Commerce and Financial Management, Senior Professor Chitra Ranjani, Professor Susima Valigamage, all are the dearest lecturers and colleagues. On behalf of the Department of Finance, University of Kelaniya, I would like to warmly welcome you all for the first day of the Investment Week.
Investment Week is an annual event organized by the Finance Students Association of the Department of Finance, University of Kelaniya. The event will transpire on 3 consecutive days starting today. Through Investment Week, we expect to build unity and responsibility and provide undergraduates with exposure to the industry, enhance the awareness about the investment to improve their practical knowledge. Now, to give you all an insight of the Investment Week 2021-22, we have a short video lined up next.
Department of Finance, University of Kalani offers a Bachelor of Business Management Honours in Finance degree, and it is one of the most demanded degree programs at the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies. Our finance degree program is the first degree program in Sri Lankan university system to be accredited by CFA Institute USA. Further, our finance degree is well recognized in the industry, and we are able to CFA Sri Lanka Society and many other leading private companies. All in all, we aimed at developing finance graduate who can not only cater for local but global finance industry requirements.
Bachelor of Business Management Honours degree in Banking aims at producing competent graduates who are well suited to the modern banking business environment. The curriculum is up to date in order to provide required knowledge, skills, attitudes, professionalisms and ethics for them to excel at the industry. Bachelor of Business Management Honours degree in Banking aims at producing competent graduates who are well suited to the modern banking business environment. The curriculum of the degree program is up to date in order to provide required knowledge, skills, attitudes, professionalisms and ethics for them to excel at the industry. We enroll limited number of participants for this degree program in order to maintain the quality of the degree program. The most outstanding students of the degree program is entitled to receive a gold medal offered by the Institutes of Bankers of Sri Lanka at the General Convocation. Recently, we could able to present a separate short course in banking with the aim of enhancing their industry exposure to the banking industry. So, the final year undergraduates of the banking degree program can follow this short course in banking while they are engaged in the internship in banking program in order to obtain a vast experience into the banking industry.
Bachelor of Business Management Honours in Insurance is newly launched degree program in Department of Finance, University of Kalani. In this degree program, we are mainly focusing on to produce the smartest graduates. Actually, it's been the insurance graduates who can compete in this insurance industry. Because there are more than 20 life and general insurance companies in Sri Lanka. University of Kalani Department of Finance, we have collaboration with these leading insurance firms and we are providing more internships and we have more agreements with them to enhance the practical knowledge of our insurance graduates. We have more collaborations with insurance industry partners in Sri Lanka. There are few leading organizations who provide the gold medal and internship opportunities for our undergraduates. The insurance graduate who gain highest GPA in the insurance degree program can earn the gold medal plus 100,000 cash prize plus management trainee opportunity in the leading life insurance firm in Sri Lanka. So here we are mainly catering on knowledge, skills, attitudes plus practical exposure. This program is designed not for only the theoretical part but to gain the exposure in the practical areas as well. Once you have completed your insurance degree, you may have many more paths to go. Especially in this insurance industry, you can go for insurance claim management, underwriting and marketing, also actuarials and life general. There are many more avenues to go and get your exposure. Therefore, this is not only a narrow area, which is a broad area which you can earn more than 100,000 a salary per month. So this is a good opportunity. So we are providing facility and we are facilitate you to be smartest, competent graduates in insurance field and to make our Department of Finance name in a remarkable place.
Bachelor of Business Management Honours in Financial Engineering degree program is the newest addition to the portfolio of degree programs offered by Department of Finance, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, University of Kalani. So we started this degree program in 2019. So today we are catering about 200 undergraduates under this degree program. Well, as a result, The undergraduates are following this degree program are entitled to CFA scholarships to follow CFA exams. All in all, we craft financial engineers who are capable of revolutionizing the financial markets.
The Department of Finance of University of Kelaniya is the pioneer of delivering first-grade finance education with an immense contribution towards financial and economic development. The Department of Finance of University of Kelaniya takes pride in organizing the Investment Week for the 8th consecutive year. Investment Week is an annual event organized by the Finance Students Association of University of Kelaniya, spanned over 3 days, addressing a vast community, including businessmen, industry professionals, and undergraduates.
Investment Week is an annual event organized by the Finance Students Association of the Department of Finance, University of Kelaniya. The event will transpire on 3 consecutive days, starting today. Through Investment Week, we expect to build unity and responsibility and provide undergraduates with exposure to the industry, enhance the awareness about the investments to provide their practical knowledge.
Now, to give you all an insight of the Investment Week 2021-22, we have a short video lined up next. For the 8th consecutive year, Department of Finance, University of Kelaniya proudly presents the Investment Week 2021-22. This time, we have changed our approaches and made this grand event a reality through the online platforms, going in line with the health and safety restrictions. On the first day of the event, the keynote speech will be delivered by Mr. Senaka Kekiriwaragodage under the theme of Building Back Better, Reviving Sri Lanka's Economy Amidst Challenges. And also, we will be launching our annual magazine, Finance Outlook. This includes many informative articles as well as interviews with the industry specialists. There will be discussions on Envision Your Career in Digital Financial Services and Insurance Career Potential in the New Normal. On the second day of the program, we have the grand finale of the Inter-University Finance Quiz Competition. On the final day, the entire event will be concluded with a chat on Secret to Success with Mrs. Ottara Gunawardana. Therefore, we invite you all to witness this prestigious occasion from 11th to 13th of January through the online platforms.
The contents of the Investment Week are the launch of the Finance Outlook magazine and the Building Back Better Forum by Mr. Senaka Kekiriwaragodage, Chief Executive Officer of NDB Capital Holdings.
And on the 12th, we have the Insurance Career Potential in the Next Normal by Dr. Jagat Alves, a key personality in the insurance industry. Envision Your Career in Digital Banking Services by Mr. Bimal Pereira, a leading figure in the financial services industry, and the launch of the Financial Literacy course and the review of our magazine Finance Outlook.
I'd like to take this opportunity to mention our partners for Investment Week. Our main sponsor, Colombo Stock Exchange, creating wealth and value. Our educational partner, CA Sri Lanka, a leading professional accountancy body. AICPA and CIMA, the world's largest professional body of management accountants. CFA Sri Lanka, the leading body that administers advanced investment analysis. Our global knowledge thinking professional accountancy body. The proud gift partner of Investment Week is Ideal Finance, the ideal financial partner in creating wealth and enriching lives of Sri Lankans.
We are honored to welcome the Head, Department of Finance, University of Kelaniya, Professor Ruwan Abesekara, whose contribution and hard work towards our department is immense.
So it is with great pleasure that I would like to invite Professor Ruwan Abesekara, Head, Department of Finance, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning to all of you. Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, Chief Guest for today's event, Mr. Senaka Kekiriwaragodage, Chief Executive Officer, NDB Capital Holdings Limited, who is the guest of honor, industry personnels, the Professor Ravi Disanayaka, Head, Department of Marketing, Professor Dilrukshi Abbewardena, Professor, Department of Accountancy, other heads of the departments, staff of the Department of Finance, and my dear students. It's my honor and privilege to welcome you all to the opening ceremony of Investment Week 2021-22, organized by the Finance Students Association. So it is the 8th consecutive time that this event is being organized. Ladies and gentlemen, the Department of Finance is one of the leading departments in the university system in Sri Lanka that provides world-class finance education. So Department of Finance is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year, established in 2011. The department offers 4 degree programs, as you are aware, namely Bachelor of Business Management Honors in Finance, Banking, Insurance and Financial Engineering, catering to about 700 students. During these 10 years of the department, it has achieved many milestones. CFA recognition for its degree programs, obtaining A grade from University Grant Commission for its quality are just 2 milestones. Apart from these 2 milestones, I am happy to announce that Sri Lanka Standard Institute awarded ISO 9001-2015 quality certificate to its degree program last week, and thus Department of Finance has become the first finance department in the Sri Lankan university system to have been awarded this prestigious certification. The success of the department is due to the qualified staff it has got. We currently have number of professors and PhD holders on our staff. Most of them have got professional qualification as well, including CFA. Investment Week is the main event organized by the Finance Students Association in the academic year. By organizing this event, we want to achieve 4 objectives. First, we want to develop the students' soft skills, because we have realized that in order to produce industry-ready graduates, we need to develop their soft skills such as leadership skills, communication skills, and emotional intelligence. Secondly, we want to establish a strong linkage with the industry. We strongly believe in collaboration with industry that provides mutual benefits to parties. Hence, you would see a strong industry presence in the event that spread in 3 days. Thirdly, we want to create awareness about the financial sector within the members in the society. And fourthly, we want to enhance the brand image of the Department of Finance. So due to the COVID pandemic, we have decided to organize this event, Investment Week rather in hybrid mode this year. So I am glad to notice that a number of new features have been added to this year Investment Week. Launching Finance Outlook magazine, launching Financial Literacy course, and introducing Teaching Excellent Awards are new additions that will enhance the event's glamour. On behalf of the Department of Finance, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Narada Fernando, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, who is the chief guest for today's event. So we are indeed grateful for your gracious presence, sir. I feel grateful to welcome Mr. Senaka Kakiriwaragodage, who will make a presentation and engage in a stimulating discussion under the title Building Back Better, Reviving Sri Lankan Economic Amidst Challenges. It is a pleasure for me to welcome Professor Ravi Disanayake, Head Department of Marketing, Professor Dilrukshi Abewardena, Head Department of Accountancy, and other heads who are participating online today, industry personnels, staff members and students of the Department of Finance, and academics who are participating physically and virtually in this event. So with all enthusiasm, I welcome you once again to this great event. I want to thank the Finance Students Association for organizing this event. A special thank should go to Mrs. Netmi Herat and the team for guiding the students. Finally, I look forward to having an exciting yet intellectually stimulating event. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir, for those thoughtful words.
He has been a pillar of strength to our Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, and who has always encouraged innovative ideas of the students. This humble invitation is to our chief guest of today's event, the Dean of Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, Dr. Narada Fernando, to address the gathering. Sir, would you please oblige?
Very good morning to all of you. Professor Ruwan Abesekara, Head, Department of Finance, and all the department heads, staff members, and our guest speaker today, Mr. Senaka Kakriwaragoda, and all the students. It is a great pleasure in this morning to address you all in this investment week for the 12th consecutive time as the flagship event of the Department of Finance. In Kelaniya University Management Faculty, we are having 5 departments. We are going with more than 13 undergraduate programs, having a student capacity more than 3,000. The exact number 3,127. So for cater these student capacity, we are having 134 staff members in all 5 departments, having more than 50 qualified with their PhD, and another 47 so with various professional qualification. So that's how we are going with our education and our system. And at the same time, so it is a compulsory requirement to maintain all the degree programs in line with the Sri Lankan qualification framework. And so we have to go with it's some sort of audit or the quality accreditation from time to time in every 5 years time. Almost all the departments, they have obtained excellent grade, grade A for their performance. Even the finance department, this is the first department in the faculty, so they already accredited that A grade for their service in the university system, excellent grade. And if we go with this investment week, the specialty what I see in this program, in most of the event we are going with for a limited number of hours, even that may be limited to 1 day. But in finance department, this finance week or the investment week, so that is going with more than 1 day. Number of days they are going with the program, and that reflect the dedication of all the staff members as well as the student association. So I want to thank especially the student association and the members, those who are guiding them for this endeavor, not only 1 day, for a continuous several days in the week. So when it comes to investment, it is better if we can discuss about what makes the good investor in investment day. So if you want to be a investor, good investor, so we can say that they should have some goal, proper goal in mind. So they should have a vision and goals, objectives. So what you are going to do in future. So that will create a good investor. So when you are selecting members, so those who are going with your business plan, even that may be a start in a new business, even that may be a investment in a portfolio of assets, that may be a stock market investment. So where you can find someone going with your ideas, so where someone who believe in your business idea and you can explain your goal to them in a proper way, so that's what we need. So you should have that clear goal in mind and you should explain it properly to each and everyone. So then we can have that patience, which is very much needed in investment. So if you are too greedy or if you are too afraid, so you cannot be a good investor. So we always going for a buy decision or sell decision, so with the intention that the stock market will close tomorrow, so which never happens. It started about 100 years back, still continue. But when we are going for a decision, you have to be very much patient. Investment, there is a long-term commitment. You cannot go for very short term. So that may be speculators, there may be gamblers, but still, if we are going with investment and if you want to be a good investor, So you must be very much patient. And the third one, risk aversion. So let's say that risk management, how you are going to manage your risk. Are you going to invest in a asset, or do you want to maintain a portfolio of asset? How are you going to mitigate your risk, or how are you going to manage your risk? So that's very much needed. Rather than going with a single asset investment, if you are maintaining a basket of asset, portfolio of asset, so that will how well you can manage the risk. In fourth place, I can play line that decision making skills. So that should not be emotional. That should be based on a fact and figures. So you should be able to analyze the situations, collect all the relevant information, and go in for a decision. The fifth and the last, what I feel, that is the knowledge. In one of the themes in this year's investment week, knowledge, that is very critical when it comes to investment. So that's what we are doing as a national university, as a Department of Finance, as Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies. So we are discussing with our learning partners, these students, maybe industry partners. So we are discussing with them how we can create a better future in this economy. So with the support of investment. So that's what we discuss. And we believe that it is our responsibility as a national university to educate those who are engaged with us. At the same time, so we are having the responsibility to educate all in this society. So that's why finance department, so they have started that free online course. So anyone in this world, not only in Sri Lanka, anyone, so without any qualification, so they can participate. So that is totally free. So that is to increase the knowledge. So we know that the ability to speak, ability to read in Sri Lanka, that is more than 90%. But if you go with the financial literacy, so that may be very poor in our country. So we are having that responsibility in our mind. So we should upgrade and uplift the knowledge on investment. So in that sense, I want to thank once again to the Student Association of Department of Finance, Finance Student Association, so for their endeavor, for the organizing of this investment week. And at the same time, I want to thank Professor Ruwan Abesekara for leading all the members in the department, and as well as the commitment given by Mrs. Netmi Herat as the overall coordinator of the event, and all other staff members. So hope that this will provide much more opportunities for each and everyone. At the same time, this will provide more areas to discuss with industry, with academia, and with the students. So I wish all the very best to Investment Week, and hope the discussions will very much fruitful to add something new to your investment knowledge. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for those thoughtful words.
We would like to take this opportunity to remind our partners for Investment Week. Our main sponsor, Colombo Stock Exchange, creating wealth and value. Our educational partner, CA Sri Lanka, a leading professional accountancy body. AICPA and CIMA, the world's largest professional body of management accountants. CFA Sri Lanka, the leading body that administers advanced investment analysis. Our global knowledge partners, ACCA, the world's most forward-thinking professional accountancy body. The proud gift partner of Investment Week is Ideal Finance, the ideal financial partner in creating wealth and enriching lives of Sri Lankans.
The Department of Finance is committed to appraise all stakeholders with the most modern and effective first-grade financial knowledge. Accordingly, we are delighted to announce the launch of Finance Outlook, a highly elevated business magazine. This magazine consists of industry insights by experts with modern learnings, along with our very own lecturers and undergraduates' articles about the finance industry.
Let us now present a video outlining the magazine launch.
So now, it's time to witness the unveiling of an unique outcome of our department, the Finance Outlook, a magazine of the Department of Finance, University of Kelaniya. This invitation is for Professor Ruwan Abesekara, Head, Department of Finance, accompanied by Editor-in-Chief, Ms. Uttara Disanayaka, Lecturer, Department of Finance, to launch the first issue of the Finance Outlook magazine. Thank you, sir and madam.
We would like to take this opportunity to remind our partners for investment. Our main sponsor, Colombo Stock Exchange, creating wealth and value. Our educational partner, CA Sri Lanka, a leading professional accountancy body. AICPA and CIMA, the world's largest professional body of management accountants. CFA Sri Lanka, the leading body that administers advanced investment analysis. Our global knowledge partners, ACCA, the world's most forward-thinking professional accountancy body. The proud gift partner of Investment Week is Ideal Finance, the ideal financial partner in creating wealth and enriching lives of Sri Lankans.
Banking on the entrepreneurial spirit of the Sri Lankan people, the Colombo Stock Exchange builds on a share trading tradition that has existed in Sri Lanka for over a century. The business of share trading that commenced with plantation companies in 1896 continues to thrive today as a matured and vibrant stock market that mobilizes capital flows of over 300 billion rupees a year.
We have leveraged on the combined experience and expertise of the industry to leapfrog on multiple fronts. As we look towards a possible re-rating of the market upwards, what is on the cards are major infrastructure developments, new product introductions, widening of the investor base, building a sustainable business model, and most importantly, working with the government and the regulator to position the CSE as a pivotal point for capital raising.
The CSE in its present form began in 1985 when the Colombo Securities Exchange Guarantee Limited was incorporated as a company limited by guarantee formed by 7 stockbroker firms. Today, as the operator of the stock market in Sri Lanka, we offer state-of-the-art pre-trade, trade and post-trade platforms. Our stakeholder base also includes the regulator, the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka, over 700,000 local and foreign institutional and individual investors, members of staff of the stock exchange, and other market intermediaries who go and make up the ecosystem of the Sri Lankan capital market.
Stock exchange operations around the globe have evolved significantly, and so has the CSE. Our trading operations, which started with an open outcry system and investors visiting the public trading floor, today is delivered through a state-of-the-art multi-asset class automated trading system and a central depository system. CSE has engaged in a drive to digitalize all stakeholder touchpoints in the stock market, enabling end-to-end connectivity electronically.
CSE over the years have invested in technology because we understand a robust, secure and cutting-edge technology is the backbone of a modern exchange. Today our IT systems and infrastructure supports a sustainable business model by securing processing transactions, generating accurate and real-time market data, and offering speedy, convenient, reliable access to the market users. We have also focused strengthening our information and cybersecurity and building internal capabilities to support the market-wide digitization strategy.
Establishing regulatory readiness to navigate through a Sri Lankan business landscape that has changed substantially since CSE was first established has been a material focus.
Regulation must evolve to support the development plan or the development strategy of the exchange, and that is something that we have always followed. Compared to the inception of the Colombo Stock Exchange 35 years ago, we have been able to transform our listing framework to make it really attractive for issuers to come and raise capital by listing their securities through the Colombo Stock Exchange. And for this purpose, we have been able to diversify our listing platforms and listing boards, giving them various listing options to benefit. In terms of overall regulation, our focus has always been investor protection, creating and maintaining a fair and orderly market, and also facilitating capital formation.
The CSE has taken decisive steps to diversify from a single product market to one that offers multiple products. Real estate investment trusts, the creation of an OTC market for repos on corporate debt, trading of gold products, and stock borrowing and lending are already in the process of being introduced. On the regulatory and governance fronts, the new SEC Act, we believe, will be an important development covering regulatory changes required to continue to safeguard investor rights.
The investor base in the Sri Lankan stock market has grown steadily, and measures taken by CSE to increase the retail investor base and foreign investment fund flows rapidly to create a vibrant securities market have been focused and consistent. We have used multiple strategies to attract local and foreign investors. End-to-end digitalization is helping us to widen the local investor base. The Invest Sri Lanka series has been effective in taking the message of our stock market and opportunities globally, and in attracting foreign fund flows into the country. As we look ahead, CSE envisions to play a competitive role and be among the leading regional markets, harnessing our key strengths of the established infrastructure and the reputation built.
We have evolved, we have changed, we have developed, but one thing that remains unchanged is our focus on maintaining the integrity and the quality of the market.
We will continue our journey towards success, and we value our stakeholders whose confidence in us stood unaltered. I would like to recognize the role played by our listed companies, our investors, and all market intermediaries who placed confidence in the CSC. Also recognize the untiring efforts of board members, present and past, as well as the CSC staff, including those who served previously.
Colombo Stock Exchange, a transformative past, a vibrant future.
What kind of tomorrow do you want to shape? A connected world, working together to prosper and thrive. Training as a chartered accountant puts you in a position to make a real difference, giving you the skills and perspectives to build the tomorrow you want. Become a difference maker. Become a chartered accountant.
Do you want to know how you can get the CIMA qualification faster? Join CIMA through the CGMA Finance Leadership Program, a self-paced digital learning and assessment platform designed to ensure smarter learning and faster success. Discover the power of opportunity with the fastest route to completing the CIMA professional qualification at an affordable price and at double the speed.
We have now come to the most awaited event of the day, an economic review on building back better, reviving Sri Lanka's economy amidst challenges. Through the forum, we will be gaining some insights about the current situation of the Sri Lankan economy.
Mr. Seneka Kakrivaragudage, the Chief Executive Officer of NDB Capital Holdings, holds a Masters of Business Administration from the University of Manchester and a Bachelor of Computer Science from University of Moratuwa. He is a CFA charter holder and a Fellow of Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, United Kingdom. Prior to joining NDB Capital Holdings, Mr. Seneka held many responsible positions at Virtusa Private Limited, NDB Investment Bank, and NDB Sapphire Partners Lanka Private Limited. This invitation is to Mr. Seneka Kakrivaragudage to give us his insights on the Sri Lankan economy.
And to moderate this forum, I invite Dr. Chatura Liyanage, Senior Lecturer, Department of Finance.
Very good morning to all of you. So first of all, on behalf of Department of Finance, I would warmly welcome Mr. Senaka Kakirwaragoda for coming to our session with all his busy schedules. So your presence is really appreciated. In today's session, we are going to talk about the economic situation of Sri Lanka. As a citizen and as a student, I'm sure you are very concerned about what's happening in Sri Lanka today. In the latest surveys, it says that 1 out of 4 Sri Lankan citizens want to go out of Sri Lanka and they don't want to come back. And on the same side, we see we have a debt crisis. On the other side, we see inflation is really going up with a unprecedented manner. On the same side, we see a monetary crisis. With all these crises, and recently with supplies crisis, we are concerned what's really going to happen and how it's going to be recovered. As a citizen, we are very concerned about it. So to address, to discuss on this, we would like to invite Mr. Senaka to enlighten us about the current situation and as a country, how we should be recovering the situation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chandra. And a lot of challenges in front of us. So let's see, I think probably what I will do, I will start by revisiting where we are today and sometimes what led us to be here and how we could improve from this situation, because there's little point in going back and complaining about what took us here. A lot of reasons, a lot of people probably responsible for it, but what we could do and who should do it. Sometimes it may be little beyond us, but I think we could put pressure as a pressure group, as citizens, as students, as business people, So we could have a collective force still in terms of influencing that eventual decision. So that's probably what we are trying to achieve. So it will be a long conversation. I think, I'm sure you will hear a lot more things from economists, politicians, civil society activists. But I think it will be an ongoing conversation. It will not be an overnight work as well. So it will be probably few decades of work that will require to put us out of this and probably build on what could be more sustainable as an economy, as a country, and as citizens altogether. So great. So we'll start with the challenges where we are. In my life, short life, right? So I could recall probably about 3 instances in the economy, different points in time, where Sri Lankan economy was seriously challenged. Some of you may not remember some of those, and some of you may remember more than me, right? First thing I could recall is probably 88, 89, where the country was entangled with 2 wars in effect. The LTT-led war in the north and the JVP insurgents in the south. So economy was on a free fall, no one was in control, and we had informal curfews, business confidence was probably all-time low, a lot of debts, and economy was seriously challenged. Not only economic, politically, and even human lives for that matter. So maybe the second instance I could recall is in 2001. What happened in 2001? I don't mind a little bit of interaction, despite it is not really in the schedule. What happened in 2001? Dot-com bubble moved global. I'm pretty much talking about Sri Lankan issues. No. Tsunami was in 2004, I think, right? 2001, LTT attacked the airport. It's a disaster, right? It's a nerve center. And investor confidence would have been at all-time low, and the war is coming home, right? War is coming closer to home. It's in pretty much in Colombo. I think there was instances where the port was really threatened, probably a couple of detections of attempts to breach into the port, and airport attack, everyone knows about it, and tourism would have just completely went out of the window with that, and economy was again in serious doldrums. The next, probably more recent instance is 2007-8. It was not one instance, but probably a period where the war was probably at its peak, 2007-8, and later we knew it was the last stages of war. Inflation was through the roof. I remember we hit all-time high of about 28%, if I'm not mistaken, inflation rate, maybe in 2008. Commodity price to all-time high. Interest rates measured by, say, treasury bond rates was just reaching 20%. And again, business confidence was very low. We didn't know where the war is going, could it end, and it was consuming a lot of resources. And again, the business confidence was quite low. But I don't remember, maybe my economic knowledge was not that great then. I don't remember we really talked about a bankruptcy in any of these three instances. So what is bankruptcy? Not being able to pay our debt, pay our obligations. But now we do talk about it, right? We do talk about bankruptcy. We don't have enough money to pay our debt. Maybe because in all these times we had, in those previous times I mentioned, the commercial debt would have been quite low, the commercial borrowings. It would have been mainly bilateral lending, multilateral lending, IMF, ADB, and so on. And we could have talked to them and negotiated. But now we are in a different situation. We have commercial lenders, mainly through the international sovereign bonds. I think we have a debt stock outstanding of about 15 billion. And as you know, there's a maturity in a week's time, 500 million with interest probably about 550. And next mid of the year, July, we have another 1 billion to pay. So that's commercial debt. And you can ask them, but why should they show any mercy to us? It's not IMF, it's not a multilateral agency, it's not a global institution. Those could be people who have lent to us. So we are in a bit of a unique situation in terms of a challenge. We are on the verge of bankruptcy, we can say that, right? And have the countries being in that position before? Of course, many. And can we come out of it? We should. I mean, there's no choice. We should come out of it. How? So probably we'll look at the exact form of challenge and what we could do to get out of it. So maybe I'll move on to the different types of challenges, main economic challenges we face today. The main thing is our foreign exchange reserves are coming down. At the beginning of 2020, we had about $8 billion in reserves. Of course, as you see in this graph, that number has been coming down, and we reached a very low point, 1.5 billion in November, and December we have got up to 3.1 billion. Various discussions are there, how did we get up to 3.1 billion? And although central bank has not formally announced, most likely that is by withdrawing that, drawing down that swap arrangement with China of $1.5 billion equivalent. Could there be some conditions? Is that free money? I mean, there are some speculations it may not be exactly as free as the other $1.5 billion, but yet it will add up to your reserves. But the problem is, still it is a small number, 3 billion. And we do import about, I think last year, 2021, our total imports were about $21 billion. Exports are $12 billion. So on average a month, we import closer to $2 billion. So how much money we have? Usually you measure foreign reserves as number of months of imports. So this could be about 1.5 months of imports. But it could be a little trickier than 1.5 months, because if the money is not freely usable, for example, if that Chinese swap we can only use for purchase from China, then it may not be that 1.5 months, it could be little less than that. And of course, 500 million go from this number, so we will be talking about maybe 2 billion or less than that again end of January. So probably less than 1, depending on what we could do with that new $1.5 billion. So we are short. So how does this impact to us? We see that on the road, right? How does it impact to us? We see the shortages because we don't have money. I mean, this is no different to a family in distress. So I would probably use an analogy. Sri Lanka, if Sri Lanka is a family, so probably maybe 2 members were earning income from the family and 1 lost the job. That kind of scenario. Because last couple of years, 2019 to a certain extent, 2020, 2021, our tourism income would have been way below what we were normally doing. Although you might hear we have lost about $4.5 billion due to that, I don't think it is entirely true. Of course, our income in 2018 was $4.5 billion, but of course, if the airport was open, Sri Lankans were also going out, right? So we saved some money as well. And that I think is about $1.5 billion, what Sri Lankans used to spend outside. So while we got about 4.5 billion income, we saved, while we lost that, we saved some money as well because Sri Lankans stopped going out. And also, although the tourists came here, that entire thing is not free cash flow to Sri Lanka. Because if a tourist was here, he will be driving around, right? So how about that fuel? There will be an extra demand on fuel. Maybe some food items. Australian beef, maybe some Argentinian wine, right? So that is foreign currency. So while we lost that 4.5, we may have saved something. But again, tourism is a high value added business, so we should have lost quite a large amount there. So probably all in all, we may have lost about $2 billion in my estimation, considering the net value addition of the industry and also what we may have saved by Sri Lankans not being able to go out of the country. So we lost that. It is quite a significant amount. And lastly, unfortunately, we see a drop in remittances as well. I think we were hitting about $7 billion in remittance in 2020, but now I think last couple of months we were looking at about $270 million, which is way below what we used to do per month, which was about 500 to 600 million earlier, not even half of that, right? So there are reasons for these things, but essentially this shortage of foreign exchange reserves, how it would impact us, we will not have money to pay for essential supplies. It's that family situation. You need to pay for food, you need to pay for medicine, you need to pay for education, healthcare, and if your income has lost, so probably you need to think about what can I do now? Maybe pawn your jewelry, sell a land. That's exactly what we are doing, right? To get out of that situation. So whether it's the right thing, I mean, there's no question of what is right or wrong, we have to do something, right? So the real question is what led us here and how we should alleviate or address that root cause. It's a long-term thing. So because this kind of a thing is in a patient in the ICU, right? So no point of finding the root cause of the problem. We need to give some oxygen first, right? Put him out of the deathbed, which is very important. Yeah? Otherwise, to find that long-term solution, the guy has to survive. The patient has to survive. The country has to survive in our case. So one challenge is we will have lesser money to pay for our essentials, which we see, which is manifesting in the society as we speak. Probably fuel shortage we are talking about, electricity cuts we are talking about, medicine shortages. So we are starting to hear what we didn't want to hear, right? The next one, I think we spoke about it, the debt servicing requirement. So this is a chart. What does it look like for the next couple of years, next 3-4 years? Each year we have to pay in the form of interest and capital, roughly about anywhere between $4 to $5 billion each year, right? And if you look at the Sri Lankan economy, how much is our average exports? Historically, it has been about $10 billion. I think last year, 2021, we got up to about $12 billion. Imports have been about $20 billion on average. And last year, probably it's a little higher, 21 point something. So we are doing double the imports of exports. And that is not a sustainable way of life. someone has to pay somewhere down the line. However, this gap of 10 billion on average was bridged by tourism of about 4 billion, let's say services income, and the remittances of 6 billion. But that's not only the current account, we had a capital account also where we borrowed to do investments. The large infrastructure projects, large developments, highways, and whatnot was built on borrowed funds. So, in addition to that current account, we have to serve our capital obligations as well, which is creating this problem, which is largely creating this problem. Normally, I mean, I'm sure you have learned about the NPV theory. Ideally, you should invest in projects with a return greater than the cost of capital. So, I think that is where the problem will probably get confined to or reduced to. Are the investments yielding that return equal to the commercial borrowing rates which we did? I think some of these borrowings came at the end maybe dollar rate of about 6%, which is quite large. Whereas those days multilateral agencies would have led to us probably about between 2 to 3% or probably even lesser than that. So we have increased the borrowing cost significantly over the last 10 years or so. And as a result, probably we are not getting enough yield to pay that. So if you are not getting enough yield, what can you do to service this debt? The only thing you can do is to run a Ponzi scheme, right? Which Lebanon did. Lebanon did for a while successfully, and of course it had to fail. It did fail in 2019. So what's a Ponzi scheme? It's like a finance company on the bankruptcy, right? I mean, we have some examples like the Sakpatis of this world, right? You were borrowing at 48%. 48% was probably an anomaly. Let's say you're borrowing at some rate, but your lending can't get you that rate. What businesses could give you 48% return? So the moment you can't get that income to service your debt, you have to borrow more. You borrow more, you pay someone's interest out of new capital that you borrow. You can run this for a while until it's happened a couple of times. The rating, which was about B, got downgraded now to double C. So it goes from AAA, A, double A, triple B, double B, B. So it's a long list, and we are at the bottom of that list, right? So which has a huge implication. What does it mean? Someone is telling, look, this guy is about to default. And then what happens? Whatever the pipeline we would have had in terms of financing is getting drier by the day. Why? It's a too risky place. Consider yourself as an individual. You hear there's a problem in a finance company, would you put your money there? No. Actually, it will be worse. Why? Even the guys who didn't know about this will want to pull the money out. So it will accentuate the problem, it will aggravate the problem. People will go and withdraw, which happened to Sri Lanka. I think in 2019, when this initial downgrade happened, a lot of guys in the treasury bond market pulled the money out. I think at some point, if I'm not mistaken, the treasury bond stock, about 12% was owned by the foreigners. Now that number is less than 5%. So that's a large amount of money. It's a few trillions of rupees going out as foreign withdrawals. And that happened in the stock market. 2020 and 2021 both, I think, net withdrawals, when I say withdrawals, sell-offs of foreigners would have been about 50 billion rupees equivalent in each of those 2 years. So altogether, they would have lost about a couple of $1 billion right there, right? And they would have been not doing it probably if they didn't get this warning, or probably would have got more money. So it's twofold. We don't get new money, and on top of it, even the existing guys who had given us money are taking it out. So we need to address that investor confidence problem, which is a very important part of that equation. Give that comfort back. First, to hold the existing guys. Two, to get some new money. Non-debt cash flows idea. So now we see, to manage this situation, the government has to do something, mainly on the import side. Import controls. We see a large amount of import controls across industries, what they deem to be non-essential. Yeah? But which is negative to the economy. Why it is negative to the economy? Just think about something like Naval, which was the hardware industry, which was largely run on imports probably, right? the tiles, the ceramic, the bathware and all that. I'm sure most of those guys would have gone probably out of business because you don't have your supplies. You can't import most of these items. And that will create less productivity in the economy. And the guys who are working in these shops probably need to look for alternatives. And that will create an unemployment problem. It will increase the level of unemployment in the economy. Not only that, it will add to inflation because what we could have imported 100 probably is now manufactured locally, and you have heard of the concept, the comparative advantage. A country should do, I mean, you can't do it theoretically, but ideally a country should focus on products and services where you have a comparative advantage. In my view, probably it should not apply to essentials because we should have some sort of security in terms of, say, food and essential things. But otherwise, you have to focus on where we have comparative advantage. Probably ceramic is not something where we have comparative advantage, maybe compared to China. So it would have been cheaper for the consumer to import it and purchase it here and focus your energy on something else. But of course, it's a priority to stop certain imports because we have to save the currency for more important needs, which could be fuel, which could be medicine, and so on. But due to this, it will add to the inflation, right? I'll just jump to that slide. So it will add to the inflation. The Sri Lankan inflation probably is due to two things. One, partially due to import controls, and also due to a lot of money printing that happened over the last 1.5 years. Probably more than ₹1 trillion printed over the last 18 months or so, right? So that money will come into circulation, but I don't think production of goods and services will go up to that extent, right? Because if you look at GDP reduced last year, so you're producing almost the same amount of goods or lesser amount of goods, but more money chasing after too fewer goods. Demand supply theory will increase the prices, Yeah? So that combined with short supply will work together. Probably it will snowball into a bigger problem, and let's hope we'll not get to that hyperinflation scenario. So I'll give one example. In Lebanon, I think in 2019, they ran a pegged exchange rate system where the Libyan currency was pegged to the US dollar. The equivalent of 1,500 Lebanese currency was $1. Now it is 21,000. I mean, that's unimaginable. But that's how, if a free fall happens, how it could happen. It could happen faster, right? Sorry. It's slightly complicated because I think Lebanon was mainly using US dollar as a medium of exchange. So it's slightly different to the Sri Lankan situation. But when things go out of control, it could go out of control quite badly, quite fast. So I think it will be a top priority of the government to curb this inflation, because who is beaten by the inflation most? The very poor of the society. So actually in this kind of a scenario, the rich and poor gap will widen. Because if you ask me the printed money, where did the printed money go? Probably most of that money would have gone to 5% of the population or 10% of the population. Who's leading maybe certain businesses, maybe who got some money out of stock market, right? But maybe 90% or 80% of the population for sure would have had a lesser real income, if I may use the economic term. So your purchasing power has gone down compared to 2 years ago, despite the printing. Probably that is why the government identified the need to give that package last week. But again, it only goes to one segment of the society. The guys who are not getting it will be worse off after that event as well. Because sure, inflation will pick up with that extra money coming into circulation. So if I didn't get that 5,000 rupees, I'll be worse off because my real purchasing power would go down with that. So the inflation is a big challenge. So this is a perennial challenge Sri Lankan governments have been having for a very long time, the widening budget deficit. Our income is way less than what we spend as a government, as a country, the government national expenditure. So historically, the deficit has been about 5%. Look at those last 2 years. 21 data is not with me, but I'm sure this must be double digit, if not worse, 10, 11 or more, right? So 2019, because we reduced our tourist income with that Easter tax, 10% deficit, last year 11% deficit. This year we may be looking at 21, that is. probably about 11-12% again. So this is a huge deficit. You can't run based on this. So look, please understand, this is a vicious cycle. When you have this kind of a budget deficit, government has to still pay the government salaries. You printed money. The printed money will fall inflation. Then again create more problems in the society. Poor will get poorer. And again you need to give them concessions. So it's a never-ending vicious cycle. You have to break this cycle. So one way to break the cycle is of course to increase taxation, which will be painful. But I think we need to focus on increasing income is important, but cutting the unwanted expenses is an absolute need of the hour. Maybe the structures that we carry are not sustainable. So you need to do some surgery with regard to the cost structure. I mean, that's what a company would have done, right? If you lost your income, your cost base is too high, would have done something. Maybe lay off some people, not the best thing to do. But what to do? First, the entity has to survive, right? Or reduce the salaries. A lot of companies did that in 2020 or 2021 also, right? Because I think you need to prioritize what is the need. So big challenge. So these are, I would say, essentially the broad set of challenges we have. Summarizing, little foreign reserves and the huge debt payments we have, and the budget deficit, and of course the inflationary pressures that society is facing. And the sad thing is all of this happening simultaneously, parallelly. It's something that we can't address sequentially. We can't, okay, let's deal with the debt problem and then let's take the inflation problem. Unfortunately, we can't, because these are mostly intertwined. So we need to get to the bottom of it and find a holistic solution which addresses each of these components, right? So look, so let's look at what we could do in terms of revival. And some are short-term measures, some are long-term measures. And some of these could be painful, mind you, right? And everyone will not like some of these changes. But I think you need to start somewhere, otherwise it will probably get into that free fall scenario, which the government is the last one who will like that to happen. They will not want that to happen. And so let's see, not in a particular sequence, but what are the few things we could do, or we should do rather, in terms of getting it back, building it back better. So obviously we have a short-term problem. We have a lot of things to pay, and that's that family situation. What would you do? Look, you are not getting your income, you have sold whatever you could do, you have pawned your jewelry, still that guy is coming after you. Right? So you need to negotiate with him. And sometimes in individuals' cases, this could lead to suicide. We have seen that, we have heard that. When you can't pay your debt, people have committed suicide. But as a country, we can't commit suicide. That's not an option, right? So talk to the lenders, do something. So what we call debt restructuring. And I'm sure you have seen this on news. I think President requested the Chinese foreign minister help us in debt restructuring. But China is not a big lender to us, by the way. The total Chinese debt, if I'm not mistaken, is about 10 to 15% of our total debt. So it is not the biggest lender, by the way. So how we could help restructuring our debt? Maybe by giving us little more debt to solve some of the other commercial debt problems that we have. So what are we going to do in debt restructuring? Immediate thing I think we need to address is principal repayments. 500 million, 1 billion, and as I mentioned, total about $4.5 to $5 billion in each of the next 4 to 5 years. Talk to them. We could come up with some solutions. Look, we'll pay you interest, but capital, give us a little more time. Maybe 2 years more, 3 years more. And you can agree, let's pay a little more interest, high interest. If the rate is 5%, let's pay 6. It's a trade-off, right? It's a trade-off. But one thing we can't afford is, not that we can't afford, we should avoid is a default. If a default happens, so there will be a lot of repercussions, particularly on the business community. For example, think about a bank in Sri Lanka. You are representing a country that defaulted its sovereign obligations. So particularly when it comes to international trade, your LCs probably will not be respected, will not be taken seriously. No one wants to do business with you. So that will have a serious implication on business operations, business confidence, and let's forget about getting new investors on board, and that will have serious economic issues, which will eventually lead to social issues as well. Why? If people are losing jobs, they'll be on the road, and that eventually will become, on top of an economic problem, it will become a social problem. Probably we are just starting to hear that social angle of the problem, maybe measured by robberies, crimes, and so on, right? So that is what other countries have seen. South America, Lebanon, Greece to a certain extent, and it will eventually boil down to social problem, economic problem, because we are all in it. It's at the end of the day, humans are in it, right? So debt restructuring, we are trying few things, I think. We are talking to the Chinese government, we are talking to India of getting temporary credit lines, but I think probably there's another option where everyone is talking about, should we get IMF assistance, International Monetary Fund assistance. So what is IMF? It's an institution formed by member countries. I mean, please don't quote me, but something like, let's say, it's a society where members have put money and form. I mean, one thing I can probably, it's not really an analogy, it's something like a Maranadara society, right? In a distress, you go and help that family. That's the objective of that society. Of course, how it works could be a little different to how IMF works. Everyone puts a certain amount of money per month, but IMF, money comes depending on the economic capability of each country. So US may be funding most of it, but other countries are also funding. This is, in a way, is your right as a member country. If you are in distress, that's why you are there. Go and ask for help, right? Go and ask for help. But the model should work. What do you mean? Think about IMF. Someone got a loan, had a party, right? Finished the money and comes to me for a bailout. I can help him, not a problem. But then how about the others who funded me, right? That will completely distort the confidence of other members. Look, that's a model which is not sustainable, right? Someone took a loan, was not very responsible for that money, spend it out, and come to me for help. Helping is not the problem, but that help should come with some pain. Otherwise, it will be a bad example for the rest of the guys who are out there. They'll also start partying, right? And think IMF will be there as a last resort. So, look, I will give you money, but with some conditions, conditionalities. So what could be those conditions is with the objective of helping that country out to get out of the root causes which caused you to get there. So it is a longer term solution. So I've listed a few which are typically conditions of IMF, and nothing wrong in them, I would say, because otherwise it will set that bad example for rest of the members as well. So what are those? Simple. Improve the budget deficit. Because if you don't improve the budget deficit, you need to keep borrowing. It's like you have an income of 100, you spend 150. And how long are you going to do that? As long as someone is willing to finance you, you can. But the music has to stop. It will stop. Right? So, improve the budget deficit. So, what are the solutions? Simply two things. Increase income, which is taxation, or cut the expenses. So, it could be, in our case, could be certain public sector curtailment, shrinking, right? And removing price controls. Fuel could be an example. No way you could do this. Global oil price is going up, you are giving at the same price. It's not going to work. I mean, it can work as long as someone is financing it. So who should finance it? No one else but the citizens themselves. Think about it. So actually it will increase the inequality of the society, the price controls. Think about it. If the fuel is on a subsidy, who will benefit the most? Someone who's driving the most powerful vehicle. So you have a 2400cc engine, you are getting the biggest benefit. Because per month you need 300 liters of petrol, not 50 liters for your motorcycle. So who gets the biggest benefit of this subsidy? The most rich, the super rich, which is bad. And could you segregate the economy and give each one a concession? You can, but it will be manipulated. It's a matter of time. The concession you are giving to the fisherman will get by the boat owner, right? Not really the right person down there who need it most. Because, I mean, it's very difficult to monitor, it's very difficult to execute. People are smart. They'll always find a way to manipulate and get on the right side of it, right? So obviously they'll ask to do this restructuring. SOEs, state-owned enterprises. I mean, we've been hearing these names. Now CPC says we are 300 billion rupee debt. Electricity board has no money, so they are thinking of not getting coal or fuel and cut electricity. Sri Lankan Airlines, we've been talking about it. So probably if it is 20 billion loss making, who's paying for it? Someone who has never seen the airport, who has not taken a single flight, has to pay for it. So it's unfair. And you think you are protecting something, actually you are doing a disservice on the other hand. If someone is consuming, pay for it. If you can't pay for it, use something else. Because if something is not viable, this has to be sorted out. How much of someone else's problem you can carry for how long? And not only us, the governments like Margaret Thatcher's UK government had to do this. They had a series of privatizations in 1980s. Why? You can't carry these national assets as long as they are inefficient, ineffective, uneconomical, and how you are going to address that problem? At some point, you have to bite the bullet and move on. Yeah. Liberalizing the foreign trade and exchange rate. Exchange rate is a good example. If we want to encourage the exports, probably the exchange rates need to be flexible. No point of trying to keep it at a particular level. The best example is remittances. Why the people are not sending the money here? Because they think probably 203 is not the right price. And if it was something else, I'll not speculate what should that be, but if it was something more, I mean, it's normal demand supply theory, more people will take it, right? More people will send the money. So probably would have had a lesser problem. It would have had a lesser problem. Make it free, make it flexible, right? Doesn't mean the government should not intervene at all, but I think intervention should be minimal as much as possible, because usually you can't beat a market. Very difficult for someone to beat a market. How can you beat a market? Market is a collection of so many things, so many people. And can one institution beat the market? It's going to be difficult. We just touched upon this. Restructuring of SOEs. Let's just quickly look at what are the problems we have. We talked about pricing policies. You are selling something at a subsidized price. It's not free. Someone has to pay. Someone is paying. Who's paying? Probably the guy you wanted to help is paying most. Yeah? Lack of competitiveness, inefficiency. Probably in some of these SOEs, a government after government, minister after minister would have filled with their own supporters, right? Which is a fact. So what does it mean? You are carrying an overhead cost which the company cannot cover. The institution cannot cover with its revenue, which means you are loss making. And on top of it, those guys may not be responsible also because they have some power affiliated to someone who put them in those positions. If I got a job because of a minister, then I think I'm an all-powerful guy, right? I'm not responsible, I'm not accountable, because I think there's someone to back me up, which is not a very sustainable economic model. And sometimes these are not adequately capitalized, because the government can't keep capitalizing everything, right? I mean, think about a family business. How many family businesses you can have? That's why companies go public. That's why companies go do IPOs. That's why companies do debentures, because private owner can't keep funding everything. But if you take Sri Lanka, the most of the economy is government controlled, at least the big percentage of it, which is very different in other countries, particularly the developed countries, because you need to encourage private entrepreneurship. Then only those new entrepreneurs will come, the new business will come, and more importantly, competition will set. Now think about a gas example, right? No private company would be able to run that cycle of a couple of months with that kind of incidents, with that kind of unaccountability, right? A private company would have had to pay dearly for that kind of thing, but still it survives because it's state-owned. Who's accountable? Not too many people, it looks like, right? So what could be some of these reforms? At a very basic level, give them KPIs, performance targets, but again, if the chairman is affiliated with a political guy, then he may not be too accountable at the end of the day. So, I mean, no point of setting KPIs. How are you going to implement? If you don't achieve them, are you going to sack him? If not, no point, right? And probably empowering the boards, maybe more professionals to be in those boards, not really the political people in those boards, and eventually privatization or at least listing of some of these. It will be more transparent, it will be more accountable for the public. I think there are good examples in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka Telecom, which was a quite inefficient institution. You may remember, maybe you can't. In 1990s, you had to wait for about 6 months to get a telephone connection. Yeah? But with privatization, with listing, foreign shareholders came in, and we had very good results. And now you know it's a very, very competitive business, competing with global giants. Something like Lanka Hospitals, which is a government-owned hospital. Now you have quite best-in-class service, and you can't complain really of it as a hospital. But if it remained a public one, probably efficiencies would have been different, because it's not transparent. Now it's a listed company. You have to put the accounts out. There's a board, independent directors who can ask some questions, audit committees, remuneration committees who will look at things, how to improve these things. So there's some better level of governance in these institutions. Yeah. So these could be some of the reforms we could look at in SOEs. So this is a big problem. We need to address our balance of payment problem. We can't live that life where we sell for 10, sell for 100 and buy for 200. That's what we have been doing. Exports 10 billion, imports $20 billion. Right? That's a too comfy life, which probably was subsidized by the remittances and the services to a certain extent. So at least until we improve those aspects, we have to cut the lifestyle, which we are forced to cut these days. If you go to supermarket, your choices are not that wide, that great. So, I mean, it is happening. Anyway, we'll be forced to do that. But I think more than that, more than automatic correction, we need to take some meaningful steps to encourage exports. In other countries like China, they give a lot of incentives to exporters. It could be subsidized borrowings just to encourage export industries. It could be rebates, tax rebates. You pay a tax, but you get it rebated if you are an export company. Various concessions, maybe energy concessions, because that is where you need to drive the behavior. KPIs are linked to performance, performance are linked to incentives. So, do I want to be an exporter? Then you will look at what benefits I would get by being an exporter, right? So, if I have a lower taxation rate, which is the case in Sri Lanka, we have a lower taxation rate, but can I borrow at a lower rate? Would I get a tax rebate? And would there be a special consideration for me as an exporter? And that's how you should drive the behavioral change. And similarly, some of those things should be negative for imports. Yeah, it could be taxes, but of course the world is complicated. Under free trade, we may not be able to implement all of that. So if IMF comes, probably they want to liberalize the trade also. It's complicated, but absolutely unessential imports, I think we can think about still cutting. Until at least we improve our tourism, we improve our service industry, maybe IT, BPO, KPO, those businesses. Simple example in tourism. We should look at high value addition. Maldives, probably on average, they charge $1,000 a night, right? A hotel room. Here, probably it's 1/10 of it. And what we can do to get there, probably we can't convert everyone to be at that paying category. But I'm sure we can improve our offering. We have a lot to offer as a country. But how about things? I think these things are real missed opportunities. Education tourism. Actually, it's the reverse for us. Imagine our students going to Bangladesh, Nepal for medical studies. That's crazy. And some of the unheard of countries, the Belarus, the Georgias, as med schools. And could we have done a private medical school? I think there will be different political opinion on it, but I think it's a great missed opportunity as a country. I mean, we should not look at our students, we should look at the South Asian students. The biggest thing we have as a country is the locational advantage, where we are. We want to be a hub. And look at our market. India, 1.2 billion, 1.3 billion is growing up every day. Pakistan, maybe another 200 million. Bangladesh, close to 200 million. It's a 2 billion population just around us. And that is what you should think about, not this small 20 million market. We should think big. And how many global companies we have built? Not too many. And at one time, Nestle, a Switzerland company, had a market capitalization bigger than Switzerland GDP, right? That's all what we wanted. 5 such companies would have changed the dynamic. And that's what exactly Singapore has done, right? And all those companies are exporting, and it is not relying on domestic market. So that mindset change should happen, right? So we talked about the need to encourage FDIs and so on. So probably I would like to end with this, the general improvements. So those were specific improvements, the debt restructuring, addressing the inflation, encouraging the FDIs, but these are sometimes mindset improvements, structural improvements we need, and probably as a society, what we should try to achieve together. Of course, some national policies have to come in. We can't have one government doing something for 5 years and a complete reversal of that in the next 5 years. We will go nowhere with that. At least identify a few key areas. Energy policy. Is it renewable energy or is it fuel? What is the mix? What do we want to do in 20 years' time? And make it agreed between everyone in the parliament, not only one party. It can't be one party policy. It can't get reversed in 5 years. Because these are 20-year investments, by the way. Which foreigner will come and invest here for 20-year project if in 5 years that whole policy is going to change? That's not going to work. So come to some agreement in key policies, key sectors, energy, education, healthcare, what we are going to do to the public sector, and those key decisions has to be made. And this is very important. Encourage entrepreneurship. I think one big problem we have in Sri Lanka is to do a business is not easy. A simple thing, if you are putting up a factory, to get a water connection, electricity connection, get the Rajya Sabha approval, the provincial council, whatnot, the deed transfer, could take months, if not years. And ease of doing business, we are just way down the ranking. Probably 90 something. We need to come to probably top 50 at least. I mean, let's not be too ambitious about it. Right? And red tapes. If you want to get something done by a government agency, how long it takes? And probably let's not talk about even corruption. Right? Cut this red tape. Look at America. What are the largest market cap companies in America? Amazon, Alphabet, Google parent company, Tesla, Apple, Microsoft. All of these are less than 40, 50 years old. All of these. If you take the first three, maybe Google, Alphabet, Tesla, and Amazon, probably they are less than 20 years old. Surely less than 30 years old. So all these are new businesses, mind you. What are the new businesses we have built? The last industry we have built is apparel in 1980s. Right? So IT, BPO, there's something, but still less than $1 billion exports as a country. It's nothing to write home about. Right? So we want to facilitate this entrepreneurship. Do you want to do a business? You would like to do a business, but if you face a lot of challenges to get the basic thing done, people ask for money at every stage of those approvals, and you will get disheartened. And that's where people will look for migration. So those structural changes have to come. Educational reforms, we talked about private education. I think we need to be open about it, right? I mean, by no means we are saying the free education should be abolished or anything. No, but within those limits, we need to encourage private education to a certain extent. Let's take this university as an example, right? If you could take few private students for money, obviously it will increase competition for you guys, right? Instead of a batch having 50, you will have 75, let's say. More competition. But there will be more money coming to the university as well. That money could be used for what? Research. Maybe improving your labs. Maybe improving the infrastructure. So the final product for all you 75, not only 50, will be a better product. The university will be more renowned outside because of maybe the research papers which can't be financed today. And it will be more acute for a maybe tech university or someone in more cutting edge solutions. I hear you have financial engineering course, right? So something like that. Can you get a professor down from the US to talk about what is happening in the market? Probably you can't afford it. But if you had that better financing, you could do. So individually you will have more competition. But as a collection, everyone will be better than what it is today. So is healthcare, right? And we need to think like a hub. I think sometime back we wanted to be logistics hub, aviation hub, financial services hub, and so on. So what are the hubs in the world? Say in North America we have New York, in Europe we have London, Asia maybe Singapore, Middle East Dubai. What is common for all these hubs? Diversity. And if you go to a subway, you will see black people, white people, short people, fat people, everyone, right? From different genders, you will hear 10 languages. And sometimes you need to be open about it. You can't cater to a 2 billion market with 20 million population, it's not going to work, right? So probably it might mean, probably we need to open up visas, territories to outsiders, at least for the region to start with. That's how EU became so powerful. European Union, collection of 20 odd countries. And SARC will be a much difficult thing with 6 or 7 countries. Yeah. So obviously there will be more competition coming in. There will be certain jobs will be threatened. But as an economy, as a country, it will be a much bigger, much powerful place, because what we could offer to the world will be a much bigger thing, much bigger thing. So I would like to end my presentation with a quotation from a book called Why Nations Fail, right? So I'll just repeat. Quote, nations fail today because of their extractive economic institutions. Extractive is who take from the public, right? They do not create incentives needed for people to save. We don't want to save if the real interest rates are negative. For people to invest, I don't want to invest in a business if there are a lot of red tapes. I need to pay for everyone to get something done. And innovate. I don't want to innovate something if I'm not protected on my intellectual property, intellectual capital. One big success of the US is what? The patent system. And you're given a patent for 20 years if you innovate a drug, and you can make a lot of money out of it. So you need to appreciate that private ownership of things. Yeah. Socialism is good, but it's not practical sometimes, right? You need to have private ownership. You need to be encouraged to earn for you first. I mean, would you be okay? You work for 100 and pay 60 to the government. It's not going to work. You feel sleeping at home is better, right? Extractive political institutions support these economic institutions by cementing the power of those who benefit from the extraction. Unfortunately, it sounds a bit familiar, right? But I think what we should do is to absolutely break this, and what matters is, the summary of that book is, what matters is institutions, institutions and institutions. Not the location. They give an example. A border between US and Mexico. One side of the border belongs to America, one side of the border belongs to Mexico. The American side, per capita income is $30,000, the other side is $10,000. It can't be culture. Both speak the same language, Spanish. Right? It can't be the DNA even, because all come from the same Mexican origin. Right? In Africa, they use examples. Botswana and Zimbabwe, for example. It's about the institutions, the government institutions, the political institutions, the judicial systems. So I'll finish with this one story, which that book says. Zimbabwe, ran into this hyperinflation scenario. So the government one time did a lottery, right? So everyone who has more than $5,000 in the bank account, Zimbabwean dollars, was entitled to one draw of that lottery. And the winning prize was about 100,000. So the bank did the lottery. Guess who was the winner? Robert Mugabe. Right? So I think, look, in such a setup, you don't have hope. So what we need to do as a country, as citizens, is to strengthen those institutions which can empower people, empower citizens to these three things. To save, you feel confident in saving. You feel confident in innovating. You feel confident in investing. If you don't invest, the banks will not have money. If you don't save, the banks will not have money. If you don't innovate, new business will not come. If the new business don't come, that is where we are. That is where we are. So it's a vicious cycle. We want to break it, and hopefully as a collection, as students, as who are going into society, as us, the businessmen, people who are running businesses, have to put pressure at every possible opportunity. Then hopefully we'll get out of it. So hopefully when we meet again, we'll have a better story to tell, right? Better presentation to make. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Seneka. I think we have a better idea about the current economic status and the recovery strategy. And on the same note, he emphasized the importance of being the right system and to set up the right institution, which is the key. And it's a long journey. So talking about one of the main strategy of recovery, I saw the point you were highlighting, sir, about the IMF assistance. So on this is something that we've been discussing and we see a lot of news in today. The government is looking for options. As you correctly said, we have an IMF as an option. On the same time, government is considering about alternatives like looking of assistance from India and China. So as a country, in your opinion, how do you see this and what is the implications to us?
So I think the underlying problem is the fact that we want to restructure the debt. How we get that restructured is few options, IMF or bilateral or multilateral. So India, China comes into that bilateral equation. The only issue is why India and China should help us. Right? There's no obligation. And it's great if they have an obligation because you are the neighbor, my good little brother, right? Or China, we have had historical relationships. As a result, I am obliged to help. If that is the case, that's great. But IMF has an obligation in a way because you are a member country. And that's its mandate to help when you need my support, when you need, when you're in distress. So I would say out of the three, if I reduce it to three, IMF is kind of obliged to help. And we have a right to go to them. Other two, if they are willing to genuinely help, absolutely no problem. But then why would they should do that? Could there be political and economical implications, repercussions later? So that is something the people who are negotiating should understand well. Because nobody realizing that 5 years later, the deal is signed. And we need to pay compensation also if you want to get out of it. Right? So I think hopefully people will assess the pros and cons and make that right call.
Right, thank you. And I'm sure you have questions, so please you can put it in the chat where we can ask that also from Mr. Seneka. On a positive note, we see that we see a lot of crises. On the positive note, we see the CSE, Colombo Stock Exchange performance has been one of the top. And I saw in the last week, we have been the best country in terms of CSE performance in the world. So which is quite alarming. So how do you see these two arrangements where we have a financial meltdown in one end and then market is the best performance having a percentage of 80% more in terms of the market performance. How do you see this connectivity?
If I want to explain that theoretically, in a high inflation environment, savers are losers, right? Because if you save your money in a bank account, what is your interest rate? Maybe today, at best we will get about 10%. If you talk about inflation of 12%, the published number, you are looking at a negative real return of 2%, which means the longer you save, the more you lose, because your purchasing power is lesser after that period. What costs 100? If inflation is 12, it will cost 112 at the end of the year. But you got only 110 with interest. So your purchasing power, which is the real purchasing power, has gone down. But being in equity, what are you doing by buying a share? You are owning a company, right? So what is that company doing? It is producing something and it is selling something and it is earning a profit. And probably they will be increasing their prices with inflation. So there's a greater probability those companies will post more profits in an inflationary environment. Of course, not everyone. It depends on where you are. Say if you are a market leader in a particular segment, probably you have wiped out your competition under the current environment because no imports even. So probably it will be in a much stronger position than you were before the pandemic in terms of the profitability and the economic modes, what we say. Right? And also there are a lot of dollar earning companies on the CSE. So if our problem is a dollar problem, if we think currency should devalue, probably those companies have much higher potential. So it's not a general remark, but there's a good possibility some of those companies will be in a better off situation in a stressed environment like this, particularly inflationary and particularly higher rupee depreciation is on the cards.
Right. So in terms of capital,
And also, sorry,
yep, sir.
and I think the stock market revival happened in the second half of 2020. There the interest rates were very low, about 4 or 5%. Maybe fixed deposits was giving about 5%. So then obviously there will be a capital migration happening. People will look for alternative investments. I mean, bank account will give me 5%. It's not enough. What else I could do? So it's a partly explained by the demand supply theory as well, because the money will look for alternative investments. Not only stock market, I think real estate also probably has been a big beneficiary. Maybe the apartments, the lands would have sold at probably higher prices. You might see the same thing happening in alternative investments as well.
Right. So in your opinion, what are the alternative capital investments for an investor in current situation to increase their wealth?
An individual.
Yes, as an individual.
I think probably the discussion should start with what is your risk appetite. Because if you have only some money, probably even you should not go for stocks. Because what is more important, you have to figure out. I mean, usually that's how you form an investment policy. The needs could be different. Needs could be basically safety. Say you need 5 million in 3 years' time for something. You want to build a house, you want to pursue foreign education, further education, or you want to marry, have a big wedding. So depending on your need, you have a need. But if you put your money in stock market, there's a possibility that money will come down, right? So it depends on your need. If it is safety, probably you should still play in fixed income instruments. But if you are looking for growth, then probably you can think about what is inflation hedged. Stocks could be an option, real estate could be an option, as I mentioned. These days you have more exotic instruments like the cryptos and all that, right? But you need to understand before you put your hand in it. And I think it depends on the risk appetite, but I would broadly say stocks, real estate would generally do better in an inflationary environment like this.
Right. Actually, the question also came from the audience, how the cryptocurrency and the blockchain will help in this manner as a country. Do you see some opportunities over there?
It'll be a long conversation, I would say, right? But I think we need to set the right regulatory framework. One good thing is that since it's a new thing, probably no other country in the region is offering this as a medium of exchange. We could be kind of first movers, where we could get a lot of new investors, new capital coming in and doing that. But it could be very negative also if you don't have the right regulatory framework. There can be free movement of capital out, and it could be even worse off. So I think we need to understand what we are going to do and set the right regulatory framework first. And even in Europe and in other countries, not many countries have done that though. So I think understanding is important from a systemic point of view, regular point of view.
Right. Any more questions from the audience? And there was a question on the 1 billion relief that the government is going to give to the public servants. I think we touch on that as well. So do you think it will be a major hit on in terms of exchange rate also?
So look, more money coming into circulation, as I said, is definitely will increase the inflationary pressures. The impact on exchange rate is indirect, because the more money comes to your hand, no matter what, some of that money will go to imports. Right? For example, so if you have more money, you want to take a holiday which you otherwise wouldn't have done. So you go to a hotel, and the hotel you consume, let's say, a bottle of wine, which would have been imported. So indirectly it will fuel imports, and no matter what controls we have, definitely it will have some on import needs. Let's put it that way.
Right. So I think have covered most of the areas that we should know about in the current context. So thank you very much for your time, Ms. Seneka, and we really appreciate your guidance on this. And I'm sure, like you correctly said, it's the strategies are there, and now it's right time to implement and to have the right attitude as a country and to move forward. So with that, I would like to conclude.
One comment.
Yes, sir.
I think what we should do is we should not take it as all doom and gloom. what we could do. We are here, whether we like it or not. But I think we should start seeing the silver lining in the dark clouds. I think it will be a great opportunity even for the government to do some of the reforms which are, I think, long overdue. At least you can use IMF as an excuse if you really want to put it that way.
Yeah,
right? Because I think some of the reforms are long overdue. Make use of this opportunity and drive them home. I think that will be the best outcome of this thing. Probably, if we look back after 10 years, probably this could have happened for better. I mean, if we rightly use it.
I think that's a very good point. This is the right time which has been able to apply with all outstanding strategies that they were planning in the last couple of years. Right, so with that, we would like to conclude the today's session and thank you very much for your participation. And again, let me thank again to Mr. Senaka to come forward to meet us with his busy schedules, and I'm sure all the audience get a lot of knowledge on this aspect, and we would like to continue your in the future as well on these endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Senaka Kakiriwaragodage, for that comprehensive and scholarly review regarding the economy of Sri Lanka, and Dr. Chathura Liyanage for moderating the forum. We are sure that it was a knowledgeable and well-informed session to our viewers.
Mr. Senaka and Dr. Chathura kindly remain on stage to accept this token of appreciation. To present this token of appreciation, I would like to cordially invite Professor Ruwan Abesekara, Head, Department of Finance.
Sincere gratitude to Mr. Senaka Kakiriwaragodage for accepting our invitation.
We would like to take this opportunity to remind our partners for Investment Week. Our main sponsor, Colombo Stock Exchange, creating wealth and value. Our educational partner, CA Sri Lanka, a leading professional accountancy body. AICPA and CIMA, the world's largest professional body of management accountants. CFA Sri Lanka, the leading body that administers advanced investment analysis. Our global knowledge partners, ACCA, the world's most forward-thinking professional accountancy body. The proud gift partner of Investment Week is Ideal Finance, the ideal financial partner in creating wealth and enriching lives of Sri Lankans.
Since we have come to the end of proceedings for today, let us conclude by reminding everyone about the programs we have lined up tomorrow.
We will be hosting informative forums conducted regarding the insurance career potential in the next normal by Dr. Jagat Alvis, Director, Selinco Insurance, and Envision Our Career in Digital Financial Services by Mr. Bimal Perera, Deputy General Manager of Strategy and Digital Finance at LB Finance.
This will be followed up by a launching of financial literacy course offered by the Department of Finance, University of Kelaniya, in the presence of Vice Chancellor, Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva, followed by a keynote speech by Mr. Heshana Kuruppu, Vice President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, followed by the Finance Outlook magazine review by Dr. Rohan Fernando, Director, Aitken Spence, and most importantly, the much-awaited grand finale of the Inter-University Finance Quiz Competition, where our great young minds will be battling out to win the much-anticipated quiz with the collaboration of Equity Knowledge Partners.
We thank our audience for joining us today, and we hope to see you all tomorrow. Please note that you can join online using the same link as today. Thank you once again. Have a great day.
Banking on the entrepreneurial spirit of the Sri Lankan people, the Colombo Stock Exchange builds on a share trading tradition that has existed in Sri Lanka for over a century. The business of share trading that commenced with plantation companies in 1896 continues to thrive today as a matured and vibrant stock market that mobilizes capital flows of over 300 billion rupees a year.
We have leveraged on the combined experience and expertise of the industry to leapfrog on multiple fronts. As we look towards a possible re-rating of the market upwards, what is on the cards are major infrastructure developments, new product introductions, widening of the investor base, building a sustainable business model, and most importantly, working with the government and the regulator to position the CSE as a pivotal point for capital raising.
The CSE in its present form began in 1985 when the Colombo Securities Exchange Guarantee Limited was incorporated as a company limited by guarantee formed by 7 stockbroker firms. Today, as the operator of the stock market in Sri Lanka, we offer state-of-the-art pre-trade, trade and post-trade platforms. Our stakeholder base also includes the regulator, the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka, over 700,000 local and foreign institutional and individual investors, members of staff of the stock exchange, and other market intermediaries who go and make up the ecosystem of the Sri Lankan capital market.
Stock exchange operations are